Yeah, and there's cheese ones in the freezer.
Oh, I love cheese.
Yeah, they didn't have any vegetarian.
Totino's?
Yeah, Red Baron.
Like waiting rooms, if that's what.
My dad used to.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Something happened to this program.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Oh, there we go.
Hi.
Host disabled.
Hi.
Screen
Hi,
sharing.
Ann. Hi,
You guys are
Trevi.
scaring me.
The ladies are here. Hey, Patrick.
Hello.
Hi, Amy.
It's been a long day, I'm telling you.
Well, bet.
Long weekend. Good to see you all.
Good to see you, Judith.
Is your mic on?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, because I was having problems yesterday with another program and my audio didn't pick up. So I just want to make sure it's not affected on Zoom. It was on WebEx.
Oh.
And it
Yeah,
didn't
no,
pick up my computer audio. Barb's here with me.
hello, Barb.
Hi, Barb. Hey, Barb.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hi.
Hi, Patrick.
I love whatever is right behind you, Anne. That blue and black. Is that a piece of art or wow?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Is it a painting or a piece of
It-
fabric?
It was a window and they painted on the back of it.
Oh, I love
Portland
it.
guy got it at like Art in the Pearl, or no, that the Thursday night, first Thursday thing.
Yeah, yeah, that is just a fabulous color. Yeah, they're my colors. I love it.
Thank you.
Hey, Judith.
Yes,
Barb, are we still doing the training thing Thursday?
we are.
Okay.
I'm going to send out another, a reminder.
I must have. I was probably in the elevator and missed it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I haven't sent out one yet, and I've been waiting to hear from the AMAC about materials.
Right.
They have some, and I wanted to send them out in advance, but I haven't heard back, so we might just have to live with that and do it afterwards. Hi, Melanie. Welcome.
Welcome, everybody.
Nice to see you. Whoops. Excuse me 1 minute. Hi. Sorry, it's my grandson.
Good evening, everyone. Glad you can make it. Just in case everyone needs to know, we have a slight change in our agenda tonight due to the officers all being downtown. They're unable to make it, but we're going to hear from the chair of the youth subcommittee on his work that they've been doing on very important subject matters. So I'm waiting for Taji to join us so we can hear what he has to say.
Hey, Jared.
Hey, Jared.
Hi. We got my Ninth Circuit argument tomorrow, so I was going to use this as my background.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hey, Andre.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi,
It's
good
going
to see
okay.
you.
See how many people, 17 so far, good.
Yep.
Oh, wait, but we're two.
What's that?
Yeah,
You
we're
got it.
sharing a screen. Hi, everybody. Glad you can come on.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Vadim.
Oh, hi, Vadim.
Hey, Vadim.
How's it going?
Doing good.
Busy week, huh?
Yes.
Slightly.
Yes.
What?
Busy week
Oh, busy week.
for everybody.
Weird frickin' week. Well, yeah.
Hi, Barbara. Hi, Jonah. Andre, Vadim, Laura, Jared. Nice time. Turn out.
Hi, Barbara. Hi, Barbara. It's that timing thing, just like talking to somebody when they're about to put food in their mouth.
Can anyone call Taj and see if he's going to be on soon?
I don't have his number, so.
Let me send him a text real quick.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because he said he really wanted to come and speak tonight, and I want to give him space so we can hear what he's got going on.
Okay. So we had a request from AMAC to record the meetings so that they can be streamed so everyone can have seen what happened. So we were planning to do that unless anyone had a big objection. If you would like us to change your name or anything right now before the meeting starts, we're happy to do that for you. Everybody okay with that?
Yes, I'm okay.
I'm a little.
Oh, I guess I'm okay with it.
Wait, somebody said something?
This is Vadim. I'm not sure I want to be recorded every. I understand people can.
Oh, Charmaine's here.
But to have all that we say and our messages recorded every single time, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that.
It's all public record.
Yes.
Well, and also to do the notes, it makes it a lot easier for someone to go back and be able to listen to it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vadim, I think that
I
I
see
think the
Taj.
PCCEP needs to have a conversation about it. It's record, but I think it is also some of the groups are sensitive and have sensitive
Did
conversations.
I see Taj just come on?
What I was going to suggest is we have been recording them just for Claudia to be able to refer to for notes. So Claudia, why don't we do that, and we just won't post them anywhere until there's been a clear decision by the PCCEP. Does that sound good to folks?
It does. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let's do that. So Claudia, I don't know how to press record.
Taj is here.
Do you?
It's
Oh.
recording. It's recording now.
Yay! Thank you. Sorry, long day, long weekend.
There's a little red button up in the upper left-hand corner that says recording. On my
Yeah, I just saw it. If it had been more obvious, it would have like bit me, but yeah, sorry.
okay. Well, it looks like our guest speaker has arrived. Hi, Taj. Or is it Taj?
Hello. Taji's fine.
Taji. Yeah, glad you can join us.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad to be here.
Well, in honor of the group's time, I'd like to kind of get started. We can go ahead and try to do introductions. What I'd like to do first is we'll introduce the Portland Community Committee on Engaged Policing first, member of PCCEP, so that everybody gets to know who we are and what we do as people start migrating between groups. So I'm going to start out. My name is Amy Anderson. I am the chair of this group, and I'm really happy you all can join us. This is big work, and we have lots to do. Now, Theo, are you on? Yeah, there you are. Is it easier for you to do like a roll call or ask people than for me, or do you want me to just go across the screen?
However you want. I can certainly do it, but if you'd rather, then feel free.
Well, since not everybody's on video, it'd be easier if you could do it in case they change their names.
Okay. Anne, let's get going.
Hi, I'm Ann Campbell. I'm a PCCEP member. Welcome, everyone.
Andre?
Hi, I'm Andre LaRoche, also a PCCEP member. Glad to have everyone here tonight.
Vadim?
Hi, everybody. Vadim Mazursky, PCCEP member. Thanks, everybody, for attending during these difficult times.
And
Taji?
steering committee secretary.
And secretary, thank you.
Title.
Taji Chesimit. I'm on the youth subcommittee, and I also am director of youth educating police. Thanks for having me tonight.
You bet.
Lakiana?
Hey, there I am. Lakiana, co-chair of PCCEP, also on the racial equity subcommittee meeting, first behavioral health subcommittee that I'm at, and happy to be here.
And then we have.
I don't count. I was doing that back at him.
Well, we don't have any more PCCEP members on the call anyway, so we can get going with community members. Barb, do you want to start us off?
Sure, I'm over here just kind of lowered. My name is Barb Rainish, and I'm a community member, and hopefully I will be an alternate at some point in the near soon future. And welcome, everyone.
Thanks, Barb. Trebi?
Oh, she's.
There she is.
Hi, I'm Trevi. I'm a community member. Thank you for having this meeting this evening. Glad to see everybody.
Thanks for coming. Jonah?
Hi, my name is Jonah. I'm a community member as well. And yeah, excited to hear more about this.
Thanks for being here, Jonah. Laura S.
Hi, I'm Laura, community member, just wanting to do my part and help out where I can.
Welcome.
Or Barbara?
Yeah, Barbara Bashinsky, Portland Cop Watch, just sitting in. Nice to see you all.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Andrea Broadway?
That's me. Community member, just poking my head in to see what I can learn and be helpful.
Thank you for being here. Melanie Payne?
Hi, my name is Melanie. I work for Portland 911 BOEC. I'm also a member of the Behavioral Health Advisory Committee, the BHUAC.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming. Patrick? I don't know if Patrick's going to introduce himself. Lauren?
Yeah, Patrick.
He is going to introduce himself, okay?
Sorry, I thought you guys had to unmute me. I didn't realize I could unmute myself.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself, Patrick?
Patrick, community member.
Glad you're here, Patrick.
For coming. Lauren?
Hi, I'm a community member as well. I just learned about this group or organization and wanted to learn more.
Excellent. Welcome.
Stephen B.
Yeah, that's me. I'm glad to be part of this. I'm a community member, just learning about what's going on and trying to get up to speed.
Wonderful. Thank you. Julia.
Okay. Hi, Where am I? Julia Baker, community member, here with my partner Caitlin, also part of the community, eating Ethiopian food, supporting Black businesses.
Thanks for coming. Leah 04.
Hi, I'm Leah, and I'm just curious about the committee and listening in.
Welcome.
Thanks for coming. Brenna Redmond.
Hi, I'm Brenna. I'm a community member as well. I was at the Sunday meeting, so I'm interested to see what this one is about.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Jill.
Hi there, I'm Jill Archer. I'm a member of the Behavioral Health Unit Advisory Council. I'm also the Vice President of Behavioral Health with Care Oregon, and just wanted to observe the meeting.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Mary Claire.
Hi there, I'm Mary Claire Buckley. I work at the Portland Police Bureau. I am currently the Inspector General and also do the DOJ compliance, oversee that.
Coming, Mary Claire. Jared.
Hi, my name is Jared Hager, Assistant U.S. Attorney, and I am with the Department of Justice monitoring the settlement agreement with the City of Portland.
Coming. Trong. Oh, okay. Trong just posted right on cue. They said, sorry, I have no mic. I'm a community member just observing the meeting to do an assignment for my class at PSC.
Jinx.
Lori's iPad.
I'm just a community member trying to get a feel for what's going on around the city and how I can participate.
Awesome. Welcome.
It looks like we have another PCCEP member, so I'm going to have them jump in. Marcia, please, would you mind introducing yourself?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marcia Perez, and I'm the chair of the Racial Equity Subcommittee for PCCEP.
Hello.
Charmaine.
Hi, my name is Charmaine Kinney, and I work for Multnomah County Long-Term Services and Support. I have a long history of doing community engagement, and Amy invited me just to come and observe, so I'm excited about being here. Thank you.
Welcome, Charmaine. From Barb over here.
Rochelle.
Hi, my name's Rochelle. I'm a community member, currently a member of the Mental Health Alliance, and I have previous experience, a couple years on the COAB and 5 years on the Citizen Review Committee.
Coming, Charmaine. Claudia.
Hi everyone, I'm Claudia. I'm the project assistant for PCCEP.
Claudia. Judith.
Hi, everybody. I'm Judith Mallory. I'm with the Office of Equity and Human Rights, and I'm part of the staff that supports the PCCEP.
It looks like we have 2 phone numbers. I won't say your phone numbers aloud, but if anybody on the phone wants to introduce themselves, now's your time to do so.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Leticia Sains. I have met some of you all in the before times when we were in person. I'm the interim deputy director for the Behavioral Health Division for Multnomah County's Health Department. And I'm here tonight in the role of member of the Behavioral Health Units Advisory Committee.
Ooh. For coming.
More members.
Yes. It looks like there's one more phone number. If you'd like to introduce yourself, now is your time to do so.
My name is Glendora Claybrooks. I'm an invited guest by Amy Anderson, and I'm just stand by to see what's going on.
Thanks, Glenn, for showing up. Appreciate it. Did we hear from Stephen? I see a Stephen on the screen.
We did.
Stephen B., you did hear from me earlier.
Okay.
I'm a community member just just wanted to get informed and get involved.
Thanks so much for coming, everyone. My name is Theo Latta. I'm also PCCEP staff. It's exciting to have you all here. There's a lot of community members here, as well as PCCEP representation. I won't say too many words, but it's a great privilege to share this space with you. If you have any questions for anyone, please post them in the box, or just when it's the community's turn to speak, feel free to go ahead and speak. But I'll also be watching this chat box. So thanks, Amy. Go ahead.
Thank you, Theo. I want to thank everyone for coming, and just to let everybody know, due to the need to have all the officers downtown for the events going on, we had to have a change in our schedule, in our agenda. Tonight, we're going to be hearing from Taj, who has done a lot of work in the youth subcommittee. And since we're all looking for more recommendations around improving the police relationships, I've invited Taj to speak. And next month, we're gonna have Lieutenant Casey back to talk about the behavioral health unit. But I'm glad we have members here in case anyone has any questions. We can also do a little Q&A if need be. So, Judith, did you have any Zoom housekeeping things you wanted to talk about?
Thanks, Amy. No, just a little bit of what Theo said. You can raise your hand in the participant box. We'll be watching the group chat to make sure if you need anything, we can answer your questions. And I think that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then Taji, I would like to turn it over to you so we can begin our session tonight, if you please.
Sweet. Yeah, I was told a little bit late about this, and so I don't have a little formal presentation for y'all. I did want to share our current draft of our summary of our recommendation, and then just talk in broad strokes about what we're trying to do there and our goal for our forum that we're having on June 11th. So since the beginning of May, we've been working in collaboration with Word is Bond, which is another community organization, and the executive director is the co-chair, Kiana. And then also the Multnomah Youth Commission, which is the policy body, works specifically with youth on a series of different issues. But we've been working with their Youth Against Violence subcommittee specifically. And we've been developing a restorative justice recommendation focused on 4 different areas related to restorative justice. Well, not 4 different areas, but 3 different areas, 3 different topics of the recommendation, which we're still working on getting youth input on. And so the main sort of cell of what I'll be just sharing about is the summary, and along with our goal of getting young people into the room, into a digital room on June 11th to give their input on oh, I thought that was about me. So yeah, give their input on our recommendation and any changes we could make that could improve it. But also we're holding space. We'll be hopefully most likely having, I can't 100% confirm, I'll have confirmation of this tomorrow, but we're having Representative Kasha Lawrence Spence there as well, who will be giving beginning remarks with the other community partners we've been working with, and her remarks will be talking about the Oregon legislator specifically and what the POC caucus and her are working on to enact sort of systemic state level change. Things focused like arbitration and qualified immunity and other police accountabilities sort of related topics that they're working on the state level. And so she'll share remarks in the beginning, and then we'll be presenting, I think they're still I'm working with her and some other youth that are working on this sort of social media campaign. And so we might present on that as well in the beginning of the presentation. So I'll talk a little bit more about the June 11th thing after, but I just wanted to share with you initially, for the visual learners, I'm gonna just post the current draft of the summary in the chat, if that would work for people. Mind you, this doesn't have any, the summary doesn't mention anything related to what's been happening right now. Well, I guess it does, but it just doesn't like have exact tie-in, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna post that in the chat. Oh, it might be too long. So I think I'm just gonna.
Taji, you can share the screen.
Oh yeah, I can share the screen. I was gonna share a screen shot of it. So could I get screen sharing abilities, pretty please? Stand by. I heard that's what police say.
Do you have it, Taji?
Do I? No. I have to be co-host. You have to give me permission.
Okay. Claudia, how do I make a co-host? Go to his name.
I'm looking at that now. Let's see.
You just click the 3 dots in the corner and press make co-host on my name or picture.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then it'll just be make co-host on the bottom.
Thank you, Taji, for keeping us. Okay, I just made you a co-host.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't see that on my end, but okay.
Got it. Alrighty. What page am I supposed to be showing? I think that's the same page. Does that look right? Cool. So the summary is the PCCEP Youth Subcommittee, in conjunction with the Multnomah Youth Commission and additional community partners, is hereby recommending that the PPB evaluate all current restorative justice practices and update said practices to promote additional restorative outcomes and a restoration of trust between police and youth. Over the past few years, the PCCEP, MYC, and other youth groups have conducted extensive community engagement in the perceptions of police officers in the Portland metro area. Sorry, I feel like I'm talking fast. This data, coupled with the input from community organizations with youth leadership listed below, have informed the following realizations and concrete recommendations. PPB has a duty to engage in practice and policy that mitigate harm from the initial point of contact through to any additional repercussions for both the victim and offender, as well as the community at large. For a bureau that purports to be at the forefront of 21st century policing, we, the enclosed recipients, demand solutions that utilize restorative justice and community-based approaches to policing. The direction of path towards restorative justice has proven to decrease trauma and harm heavily present in Black and brown communities of color, youth populations, and individuals experiencing or living with mental or behavioral health conditions. RJ practice is also a necessary step towards disrupting the school-to-prison pipeline and opportunities for growth in youth to avoid future interactions with officers. So once again, we're probably adding to that specifically pieces around the relation of police brutality, police violence, and public health. And so there's still pieces there we haven't added in yet. But as of now, that's the sort of draft. I don't want to go through the sections yet because we're doing one more editing step before we sort of present it to the public. But if you want to see it in its entirety, we'll be presenting it on the Sunday special session as well. Not like a full-on presentation, but as one of the many things that we'll be sharing with on that Sunday meeting. So the focus of a few things there, the June 11th meeting will be in collaboration with 22 community organizations that we're reaching out to. Specifically ones with youth are at the front of it, but the other half of it is just folks that work in restorative justice or system stuff that are sort of system players in the work of restorative justice. A lot of it is collaboration and sort of building coalition with a lot of partners. And I'm really excited to see that we'll have, Representative Lawrence Spence's support on all of it. And I sort of will just open it up for any questions in regards to this. I think we'll also be presenting a ton of other recommendations from each subcommittee, including this one, about, what sort of things we can do to address what's happening in this country right now, address what the position and stance of, frontline protesters are demanding right now, and how we can best share that with elected officials, share that with, stakeholders so that, some change can happen. Unfortunately, that we have to wait for a protest or a death of a person to have change. So But, you know, we're continuing the work and excited to see everyone here as well. So that's the basis of the presentation. If there was more in there, Amy, that you wanted me to include, I can. I have a flyer for the June 11th poster. I'll put in the chat.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
That'll be great. Thank you. Okay, for the folks in the on the call and in the room, this is a lot of work around restorative justice. Does anyone have any questions about what it means or what we're supposed to do with it? Or do you have any comments you'd like to add about it that you think should be included? You can raise your hand in the raise your hand screen or put your hand in front of the camera, whichever is easier for you. Okay. No comments.
Oh, people, we'll give them a second.
Oh, Anne has her hand up.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Taji, could you talk a little more about restorative justice?
Sure, yeah. I won't drink water. Restorative justice as a practice is looking at how to address existing harm from a victim in a situation, and it has a lot of different ways that it can permeate, especially if we're talking about a police officer and a citizen. The best example I could give is they've held one restorative justice training with the Youth Service Division, and in that they went through a 2-day training learning about, you know, basically a restorative justice 101. But some of those tactics they already use specifically with their school resource officers. So in instances where let's just say a student is in a fight that gets a physical between two individuals, and a police officer is called the situation because the parents of one of the people wants to press charges, they may work to have a restorative justice dialogue around what occurred between the two of them to try to avoid the need for charges being pressed against an individual. If you're talking about a police officer and a citizen, that's something that's a little more nuanced and doesn't have as much ground in Portland. From my understanding, restorative justice from a police officer and a citizen's perspective would be instance of a young person robs a store and the police officers call the situation, and instead of trying to, you know, send that young person through the juvenile system, they may work to have restorative justice with that young person and the owner of that store so that they can avoid the need for, you know, legal charges to be brought against the young person, and then sort of creating a cycle of recidivism that more often than not occurs when that initial point of contact is through punitive punishment rather than RJ. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Taj? Andre, are you with us? I don't.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi. Just so folks know, on Sunday we had a huge gathering of a lot of folks, and we brought forward some recommendations around some other very important subjects. And I was wondering, Andre, would you like to take a few minutes and kind of let the folks in the room know where what we recommended and where we're going with the subject you were talking about? Do you mind?
Sure thing, sure thing. So one recommendation that, you know, we voted on and passed was a recommendation to the mayor's office to reach out to Oregon's congressional delegates in DC to amend a doctrine that's called qualified immunity, which is used the intention was to insulate public officials from litigation that's truly frivolous, but the way it's been construed over the years has kind of created this loophole that's allowed some really egregious abuses to get through. For instance, officers stealing over $200,000 during the execution of a search warrant, prison officials leaving an inmate in a cell full of flooding sewage for days. You know, things like that, that just from a common sense approach, I think everyone would think, everyone, regardless of your views, your background, would consider to be truly atrocious behavior. And I think that's an important starting point a very, an important starting point as we look at potential reforms that would either prevent things like last week's incident from happening again, or disincentivize them and allow for justice to be done should they happen again. The day after we passed our recommendation, Representative Justin Amash introduced a similar bill in the House. His would end the defense of qualified immunity altogether. So it looks like there's a number of people who are at least looking at this issue and trying to figure out, is there a way that it can be discussed, changed, whatever, to more accurately increase people's faith in their public servants, as well as allow for justice when those servants abuse the faith that the public puts in them.
Well said. Thank you, Andre. Barb has a question for the group, or?
Actually, it's more of a question for Andre. If nobody else has any questions, I was wondering basically if you could tie that recommendation back into the behavioral health. Just because it's the subcommittee, but I know we're off topic for the subcommittee.
Sure thing. Well, as has been noted many times in the past, individuals undergoing behavioral health incidents are often disproportionately on the receiving end of, police uses of force. So to the extent that this particular recommendation, if ultimately successful in changing the law, would disincentivize the use of disproportionate force, individuals undergoing behavioral health episodes would probably benefit from it as well by seeing a decrease in the number of those incidents of disproportional force uses.
Thank you. And I have kind of a question. Mary Claire, is there a way you can just kind of summarize how arbitration works in Oregon so folks can maybe learn a little bit more about our process here on what happens if an officer is terminated, what could possibly take place? Would you be willing to speak on that?
I'll try, not my forte, but what I can tell you is that if somebody is dismissed under the union contract, they have certain rights, and one of them is the right to grieve any discipline process, discipline that's imposed. And that's where the arbitration comes in. They can ask for an arbitrator to, for a hearing, at which time an arbitrator will hear the evidence and can make a determination. And that's what the whole issue is. The arbitrator can overrule the decision of the chief of police or the police commissioner, as the case may be, who makes that decision about the termination of a particular officer. And so last session, the legislation was introduced in Salem, but it didn't pass. But my understanding is that that bill will be re-raised in the next session. So it would then eliminate the arbitrator's ability to, overrule the chief or the commissioner's discipline decision.
Excellent, thank you. I want folks to kind of try to understand a little bit about how a process works if we're trying to fix something or modify something. Like, it's good that people know where they have to go to have their voices heard as well. So sort of along the lines of how do we get legislation passed, we have to talk to legislators. So thank you. Is there anything else you think would be valuable to the group in understanding, like, next steps? What would be the best things folks could do if they want to help change the process?
Well, obviously, everybody has the right and ability to lobby their legislators. If this is important, then certainly either individually or as a group, you could make your position known with, when the session returns, when the legislature comes back into session. And if there is a bill, there are always, hearings before subcommittees, and then the vote of the, full House on both sides before, it even gets to the governor. So there's a lot of process in Salem. So there are a number of opportunities to either, testify in person or, even, send written testimony to the committee or to your own legislator or what have you. So those avenues are available to all citizens here in Oregon. And that, I think, would be an effective tool for you if that's one of your recommendations, because clearly that's a legislative thing. That's not something, I always have to remember, much like the qualified immunity, that, there's nothing that the city of Portland or the, police bureau can do about that. Some of these laws are either state or federal, and so they require action on either a state or national level.
Taj, you had a question?
Not a question, more of a
comment.
What kind of question? Kind of statement. Judith, would you be willing to post a link to the caucus call to action that was put out today?
Yeah, I don't have it. Do you have it, Claudia?
I think I have it. I can send it out in a second.
Sorry.
That was another thing that's that sort of speaks to how we're trying to use the momentum that's occurring across the nation to enact change on a state and federal level. The Oregon legislators' POC caucus put out a call to action listing a couple of bills that died in the Senate last session in 2018, along with some bills that they're going to work on in the supposed or already existing special session that Governor Brown's calling, I believe, to work on things like arbitration and qualified immunity. I don't know if qualified immunity was on the docket, but I think they definitely were talking about arbitration specifically. About, there was just a lot of things that legislators, especially ones in the POC caucus, were trying to move forward. And I just wanted to share that, to know that there is something, moving in the pipelines. Legislation specifically gets very bureaucratic, and so it's hard. And I think that things that were mentioned by Mary Claire are definitely valid and super helpful ways to push those things forward as well. I'll post the thing right now if I can find it.
Thank you. I'm gonna exit full screen. I want to look.
What do you want to do now?
I wanted to look at the.
Amy?
Yeah.
Laura S. just posted a question to Taj.
Yeah.
Can you read that, Taj?
Oh, sure. But I was going to find the link and then do it, but I was
sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, Laura was just wondering, what are you hearing from youth? How are you feeling about what's going on? From the youth perspective, I was in a call earlier today. That was the one we were planning stuff with Representative Lauren Spence, and she's working on a social media campaign with young people who have been working with protesters a lot, and especially in Portland, on ways to have your voice heard. And I think a lot of social media has been a tool young people have been using, and the general idea and understanding that I'm getting from young people is that, this whole situation has been a tipping point on a larger issue that's already existed. That's, that gets talked about and gets, things happen when these things happen. And I think that's not the way that democracy should work. But it, we're just working with what we got right now. So a lot of people are just fed up with the way that the system works and the way that the system doesn't really benefit. And the system, I mean, in the sense of policing, in the sense of the ways that they exist sort of above the law in a lot of ways, that in a literal sense, and figurative, that make it so, that's just that's not the country we want to live in, where we can just have Black people be murdered and have anyone be murdered by a police officer and not be held accountable for their actions. The thing I'm working on with the youth subcommittee is the restorative justice recommendation. So that looks at even just before anyone has this interaction with a police officer, they have the tools, the Bureau has the tools to avoid the need for recidivism, as I mentioned. But we're looking at things that aren't prevention focused. They're you know, after the fact, retroactively looking at police issues. And I think both sides need to be addressed, because it's not like the system's going away. You should address before someone has an interaction with the police bureau, the police's interaction with everyday citizens, but also the after effect of it and the justice system as a whole. Both of those things are just what I'm understanding is how young people are understanding the issue. A lot of them are using their voice through protest and through expression that way, as a way of having their voice heard, because they don't know as many outlets to get, you know, into rooms like this, as you can see from everyone else in here being an adult, from my understanding. I don't want to assume, at least over the age of 18, because I'm 18, so I can't. So maybe I'm not even a youth anymore. No, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's my understanding and my sort of opinion tied in there. Hopefully, I'm gonna get that link.
Okay, thank you. Given that this session was to learn about the behavioral health unit and some of the things they do, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I'm really excited, and I was kind of wondering if the folks from the BHUAC would kind of like to give a little introduction about yourself and kind of what you do on that committee, so we can kind of learn as well, because you're an integral part of our community. And a lot of folks don't know what you do or that you're even out there. Would anybody mind speaking a little bit about your group?
I'm happy to share a little bit, and just very general, if you don't mind.
Some basics so folks kind of understand the tie-in, because this is the Behavioral Health Subcommittee, and I kind of want to tie in the real work that we're all doing together in the community with what's happening now, the COVID, folks that are experiencing more trauma, more, you know, anxiety, like a little bit about what you guys might be seeing that we might need to know about as we move forward in our recommendations.
Well, I can tell you what we have, a little bit of our history. We have been working, and we're pleased to almost be done. We've been working on ways that we can help the Bureau reach compliance for the DOJ settlement. I work for BOEC, which is 911, and we also have agreements. So we've been working with, it's been really great for me to work with mental health professionals and police representatives, people from the legal community, to get some feedback on ways that I can improve our training so we meet the agreement for the DOJ. So that has been a little bit of our history. We are learning a lot about how the systems interact, the systems that serve people with mental health crisis or people living with addictions, so that we can identify ways that we can be supportive. I'm sure many of you have experienced yourself. It's really complex, and knowing how we can help or engage or address from our own perspective, if we don't understand, then we're not really helping others. So as I said, that's a very high level question. Jared asked if we could talk about the community engagement plan. And I am not in a position, I don't have it with me. So
we were gonna wait for Casey to do that anyway, after he did a spiel on the BHUAC. So
we're gonna move that forward agenda in a month or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted folks who are new on our calls to kind of give an understanding of the intricacies of our behavioral health system when it comes to responding with crisis callers and the police and, you know, all of the specialty units that Portland PBB has developed. And I'm just curious, you know, how things are going when we're all in this really tight, stressful environment. You know, are like calls going up? Are more people, you know, being in crisis over this? This is something that's of real interest to me, is making sure that we can somehow support our folks in a way that's beneficial. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah, I do. I do. So I can give you, I love stats, and I don't know how illustrative they will be, but until George Floyd was killed, our numbers, our call volume had actually been lower than it has been historically, about 10% lower. And that's, again, that's 911. And I'm talking about emergency and non-emergency calls. So it was a curiosity to us. We were interested. I think the types of calls that are coming in may be more serious in nature. And we continue to utilize the enhanced crisis intervention team officers to go respond to people who are in mental health crisis. We are continuing to utilize that as a resource. But from the point of George Floyd's death to current, everything has changed. I am out of the office. All of the managers for Portland 911, we are working remotely. I did hear some statistics that we took about 4,000 calls on Saturday. Most of those calls would have been through the protest, and those are numbers that we usually receive on 4th of July. So I don't really know how people who are mental health crisis, how they are interacting. I'm worried as well. We're trying to, I think we're bailing water out of the boat as quickly as we can so that people aren't having to wait on hold. But I really can't speak to how people are getting served, and that is a concern for us. So we're staffing, we're hiring lots of people for overtime so that people don't have to hold. We still have police officers out there serving as ECIT, but that's I hope that gives you just a little insight.
Thank you. I'm trying to keep myself muted so there's not a lot of background noise. So I have a hard time flipping buttons really quickly. That was wonderful. Oh, Barbara, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I have a question for Melanie. I know things are really crazy now, but have you been working on training the dispatch operators how to deal with calls about unwanted persons and maybe racially motivated calls, how to screen those out so you don't send police to, you know, basically hassle people when that's not what they don't maybe want to do that, but somebody's calling in, and how are you able to do that?
Sure. We, you know, I think it's evident that around the nation, we need to be better and do more work around equity and asking our callers more specific questions. But we ask some, we want to know what's going on. Why is the behavior suspicious? How can police help? So we do triage right now, but we're in a strange position. If you watch the news and listen to the woman in New York who made that phone call about the bird watcher, we receive calls like that all the time, every day. And we're doing the very best to make a good decision, but we don't know because we can't see them. That woman sounded really convincing that she was having a crisis. So we want to send help where help is needed. And we also are aware that people might be utilizing police for things that are not criminal or emergency based. so we make the best decision that we can and provide that information to officers so that they're prepared and they know what callers told us. But it's evident that we should all do more work. And we have to balance that, of course, with the need of if someone is in crisis and they may not present that way. What if they have a very low affect and they need help, but they sound very calm? So how do we balance that?
Melanie, I have a question. This is Marcia from the Racial Equity Subcommittee. One of the things that came to mind at the last meeting for the Racial Equity Committee, we had folks from Civic Life come talk to us, and I'm curious if there's been collaboration with BOIC and Civic Life to talk about a community accountability models or type of, if you're getting a lot of calls similar to the one that happened in New York, I'm curious if there's an opportunity to tie those calls to an educational type of platform with Civic Life or other community partners that are doing education for the community.
Yeah, we work very closely with them. They actually do a lot of outreach for us to help the community understand what's an appropriate call for emergency or non-emergency. So we continue to partner together. Right now, as you can imagine, we are just focused on getting through and getting to the other side where all of the partners can sit down and talk. Right now, we are in triage. But yes, we continue to work with they've changed their Civic Life. And I look forward to doing that more in the future.
So, hey, Melanie, I want to thank you very much for all that you guys are doing and for being brave enough to come here and talk to us just off the cuff. I listen to the scanner all the time, and right now, y'all are doing just a great job from everything that I can see and hear. So I just want to thank everybody in your group for their, patience and hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to my hard-working coworkers.
Okay, folks, does anybody else have any further questions around the recommendation that Andre spoke about or Taj spoke about? Because we're getting ready to have another meeting this Sunday and talk more and more about the things we can do and build our momentum. But one of the things that we've been charged to do in this group is to have a public conversation around our community engagement plan. And since this is like my third meeting, we had a transition in our group and we never had a chance to really talk about what the community might feel about, or members of PCCEP, about if we had access to $3,500, how would it best be spent? So like, what would be the best way to have fruitful community engagement around the subject matter of the community engagement and the PCCEP plan, the Portland Community Engagement Plan. We do have a plan on our website, and I mailed it out to everyone, put it on the original agenda links last month. But I'd like to hear from the community at large and see what you folks or PCCEP members feel about how would we create, what would a good community plan look like? So I'm going to put it out to the group because we have to come up with a plan that we're going to launch at our next major meeting on June 23rd. And so I would like to have the community speak on how you think we would best serve you doing outreach, doing community engagement with the police and with the community. So anybody feel free to use the raise hand option or let us know, because we really need your help in figuring out how to plan for a better future for all our people who have behavioral health challenges. So, anyone? Yes, Stephen.
Forgot I was muted as well. Okay, just a point of clarification, is the link at the bottom of the agenda to that community engagement plan, was that drafted by this committee, or was that a draft put forward by the Portland Police Bureau? I guess the link on the bottom of the agenda that I found has a community, there is a community engagement plan there. Is that the draft we're talking about? Or is it just a draft, or are you talking about something different?
Actually, there are several different plans out there. We have, as a subcommittee, each subcommittee of the big committee is charged with coming up with their own kind of community engagement piece of it.
Okay.
It's all kind of tied together, but we haven't began our plan yet, not for real community engagement, for the behavioral health subcommittee.
Behavioral health subcommittee. Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Do I know what's on the bottom of the plan?
Amy?
Yes.
This is Charmaine.
Hi.
Charmaine Kinney. Hello. And community engagement is all about building relationships. And you got to be able to be in it for the long haul. So there has to be something created around being able to build relationships. Community engagement is not creating surveys. Well, it is, but it's very low, you know, on the community engagement scale. But where there's something where the community is part of the decision making, that is one of the highest levels of community engagement, is that the community is helping to make decisions, is identifying problems that need to be worked on, proposing solutions, because the community knows what the problems is, but the community also knows what the solutions are. And it has to be something that is, the foundation of it is healing. And the building of those, in healing those relationships, this is not something that happens overnight, because you need to create that trust, you know, that belonging, you know, and so it takes a long time to do that, but it can't be something that we can just throw $3,500 at. It has to be integrated in everything that is happening, you know, and so really empowering people by bringing them to the table, making sure the people are at the table to help make the decisions, you know, is just a critical part of community engagement. And, you know, and looking at King County's model of community engagement, it's older, it's from 2011, but they have a really great model where you see the different types of levels of community engagement. From, we're making this announcement, such as we're having a curfew tonight. That is, you know, government saying we are doing this. You know, it's one way. It's not a two-way thing. You know, but when you're at high levels of community engagement, the community is engaged in the decision-making process, and it's two-way conversation.
Thank you, Charmaine. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I was wondering if you could kind of let the folks know a little bit about your work with the Future Generations Collaborative, because it's very strong and it's growing all the time, and you guys have done incredible work in launching some of the restoration in the community, and I don't think folks really know a lot about it.
Oh, the Future Generations Collaborative started in 2011, and it came out as a result of Multnomah County Public Health looking at disparities and noticing that there was disparity in the Native community around, around fetal alcohol syndrome, of which, the justice system is full of individuals with fetal alcohol syndrome, that may be unidentified. And today, amazing things are happening as a result of this. And I would say, there's lots of things, but what's pertinent to this is Susie Kirshner, which is one of our elders. It has developed this relationship through FGC with DCJ. She is in there doing trainings with them, changing systems. They now have, that was in pilot last year. I'm not quite sure where it is right now, but I know that it was going to be expanded. I'm no longer where I was, and so I'm not as involved, and so, but the pilot was within the family unit of the parole and probation, where they changed the way they were doing that, and they were looking for and screening for fetal alcohol syndrome for all of their clients. It wasn't just Native, all of their clients, and then based on that screening would work on getting a full assessment and also changing the way they're doing their treatment plan. Because what we know about fetal alcohol syndrome is that often mainstream treatment doesn't work, because there's too many groups, there's too many rules, people can't consistently follow. It gets too complicated, there may be too much reading, there's too much judgment and shame. And so often those individuals blow out of treatment, so who you see on the street is overwhelmingly, people with fetal alcohol syndrome. It's not just in the Native community, it's, and the stats verify this, and so the impact that's happening, along with that, this year she brought in judges and lawyers from not just nationwide, but worldwide, came to Portland, Oregon, to Lewis and Clark, and did a fetal alcohol summit, fetal alcohol syndrome summit with individuals in the DCJ and with families. It wasn't, and it wasn't separated. It was like we're coming together as a group, and learning together, and systems are changing as a result of that. And that is a result of some of the highest level types of community engagement, where the community is sitting down with those that are making the decisions, and there is data being brought to the table, and collaboratives are being built so that this work can be done, not only in this collaborative way, but in a collective impact way, where everybody is coming to the table to bring whatever resources, whether it's sweat equity or whether it's financial, and bringing resources to the table and being able to really create miracles, which they have done. We have seen it over and over and over again, that it's happening. They couldn't go out and physically train, and now 2 times a day throughout the, they're on doing trainings for free, doing support circles for free, and people from throughout the world are attending those, and, it's just, it's amazing, amazing work.
Thank you so much for sharing, because the Future Generations Collaborative is a big inspiration to me on what I see PCCEP, becoming, as we grow stronger and stronger together, everybody kind of joining forces on one accord. I was wondering if anyone out there in the community might have had an experience, positive or negative, they would like to share with the group about their interactions with officers, either now or in the past, that you think would be helpful for us to know. I'd be happy to open it up for discussion. This is a community meeting for the community, which is everyone here. So does anyone have any experiences they think would be important to for the group to hear around where you think we should go with our future recommendations? Laura, yes.
Hi, actually great timing. I was just wondering if there was going to be a section for that. So my experience with the behavioral health unit of the Portland Police Bureau was a fairly positive one. I had a friend who was in crisis, suffering from mental health and chemical dependency issue. And I was very explicit that 911 not be called. I was very concerned that this person was going to be shot by police if 911 was called. So the best thing that I knew to do at that point was to call the Multnomah County crisis line. And I just have to say that they were so great. Obviously we had to call 911. The person was experiencing an emergency, but I was assured that a specific department was coming out that handles behavioral health issues from the police department. And so I was readily accepting of that unit coming out rather than just regular officers. And I was also concerned there were people of color. I was just terrified as to, what was going to happen for this person. So I just wanted to say that I had a positive engagement with that behavioral health unit. Those officers that came out were approached the situation with just a lot of thought and care. I thought it was pretty amazing. I was pretty impressed. It was 2 instances that we had to call for pretty much the same type of instance. The first instance, we didn't get a follow-up call, but the second instance, we did get a follow-up call, and then a third follow-up after that to check on this individual, see if they were getting services, where were they at, has anybody been, so I just actually wanted to put that out there. But in thinking about that experience, is there information to inform, is there data on that? I'm a data person, data nerd, so I didn't know if there's data on that engagement.
So
Barb is gonna give us a little insight here.
So I've learned a lot about the Portland PD and the behavioral health unit, and that's one of the reasons why we had it planned to have Casey start talking about what the different groups are in the Portland PD, Portland Police Bureau, that do that. What you're talking about is the specially trained ECIT officers, most likely, which are the guys that get the extra, they're heavily vetted and they get the extra 40 hours of training in order to do that. I always say it's the good guys that talk people down from the bridges. And they do a fabulous job most of the time. So I think as far as community engagement goes, that's part of what this group wants to do in collaboration with the Behavioral Health Unit and the Behavioral Health Unit Advisory Committee, is to put on some big meetings where people start to, we learn what's going on and how it works, and anybody else that wants to know and that's a citizen that knows how it works. My experiences with the behavioral health unit, like you're talking about with having somebody who was incredibly hyped up and he still is. Anyway, black guy, 30 years old, very fit. I was scared to death to call the cops, but I had to. And so I had learned from NAMI to ask for an ECIT officer. And so every time I ever had to call, that's what I asked for. And that was much more, it was reassuring to me. And it was the same guy all the time. And he was just awesome. So I think we're going to learn more about that stuff. And there's many ways to learn about it. And I'm glad people are excited about it.
Amy,
Barbara has her hand up, and I see Stephen.
Go ahead. I don't see too well, so I need a moderator also from the backside to catch the hands. So who is it?
All I need is the acronym that she just mentioned, the officer that she asked for that did so well. What was that acronym again? And what does it stand for?
It's ECIT. So the Portland Police Bureau
enhanced,
hold on, gets 40
Enhanced crisis intervention training.
Enhanced crisis intervention.
Hey, Mary Claire, do you want to answer it? Because I can answer it, and I was asked to answer it, but I'm happy to let you answer it.
No, that's, I thought you were struggling with what the ECIT stood for, sorry.
No, I was just going to start with what I was talking about with, anyway, the crisis intervention training, all the officers have it. So then the extra crisis training basically is another 40 hours of training. So it's ECIT.
And Amy, if I could just go back to Laura's question, the Bureau keeps a lot of data on our mental health contacts and ECIT's work. And so we'd be happy to provide that. I expect that would be part of Lieutenant Hetman's presentation next month. But we track and frankly, Melanie will know this as well. I just got some statistics recently. We track how many ECIT calls are dispatched from BOAC and how many we're able to respond to with an ECIT officer, a lot of that stuff. And then in more general terms, how many calls that we respond to have a mental health component. We try and track that as well. So whatever kind of information, I'm sure we could provide you with some statistics.
Oh, yay.
Amy, Jonah has his hand up.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I just had a quick question about the enhanced crisis intervention teams. What is stopping that from being the standard for all police officers to have?
Hang on. Who would you?
Yeah, there's an interesting question, Jason. I will tell you that a number of years ago, and you'll get a lot of this next month as well, but in a nutshell, a number of years ago, a determination was made in collaboration with the community that all Portland police officers would receive CIT training, which is crisis intervention training. So all of our officers receive 40 hours of that specialized training, both when they're down at the State Academy, and then they come, after they finish the State Academy, they come to Portland for, our own, academy for recruits, and they get, more than 40 hours actually, but at least 40 hours. Then when the Department of Justice came to town and we, as part of the settlement agreement, there was an agreement that we would also, in addition to having all officers, we would have a specialized group of officers, volunteer officers, who would get an additional 40 hours of training, and that's where the ECIT comes from, enhanced. So they've had the 80, everybody else has had the 40. And we, right now, probably out of, operational officers, there's probably 150, 160 of the officers have gone through that training and are certified as ECIT officers out of, probably 350 or so, patrol people. And we're constantly assessing, how many, the Bureau should have at one time, because the idea is that that is a special specialty unit, they respond to the more critical. And actually, Melanie could tell you that we have certain criteria that ECIT officers respond to. So BOEC hears a call, and if it meets certain criteria, then an ECIT officer is dispatched for that.
Are there enough ECIT trained officers to cover all shifts, most shifts? Is it a 24/7 availability?
Most of the time, I would say, but you know, you get trained every time a training, or we're, you know, starting to look at having another one, we do an assessment of where the officers are shift-wise in precinct, the 3 precincts, to see if, you know, we've got them covered. But as you can imagine, people change all the time, so occasionally there may not be some, you know, someone on every shift in every precinct. So, you know, an East officer may have to cover an ECIT call in North or what have you. But they do try and, you know, as best we can, try and solicit interest in officers at all 3 precincts so that we do have that coverage.
Hey, Mary Claire, I have a question now. Is there a ratio of the total number of officers on the force compared to like I call them the extra, you know, specialized teams? Is there like a, for the population we have, is there like a flow chart of how many officers per population, you know? Is it 1 per 100? Is there any kind of ratio?
You know, Amy, you mean for how many officers there should be in the city?
Yes, or ECIT trained or exceptionally, I call the whole group of, you know, additionally trained officers.
Well, I can tell you that the settlement agreement anticipated between 60 and 80 officers, so we have well exceeded that number, as you can tell by the about 150 or so that have been trained thus far. I don't think there's any, you know, particular, you know, Portland has its own unique, you know, system. And so it's hard to know, you know, if there's a standard for it, but, you know, we continue to always assess, and that's in terms of the statistics she was asking about. We're always looking to see how many of the ECIT calls that are dispatched that we answer, and that gives us an idea of whether we have enough officers. You know, sometimes the ECIT officer doesn't arrive because they're called off because it's been resolved, or they can't find the person or what have you. So just because an ECIT officer doesn't respond doesn't mean that there weren't enough officers either. So we're constantly evaluating the data that we receive to evaluate what resources are needed in that, you know, specialized team.
Jared has his hand up.
I saw that one.
Thanks. I just wanted to comment on Jonah's question. You know, I think there is a good argument to be made that all of your officers should be ECIT trained, but right now the police they couldn't do that because of the settlement agreement. And so I just want to, you know, make it known that the reason why the Department of Justice required a specialized team is that it's a volunteer team, and in the experience of our experts and in the experience of our police reform cases across the country, we found that a volunteer team of a specialist number of officers end up performing better because they buy into the system voluntarily, so to speak, instead of it just being mandatory training. And so that's why not all officers, it's one reason that this police bureau couldn't have all officers be ECIT trained. And I don't want to speak to whether that's good or bad, but the Department of Justice thinks it's good. So, you know, speaking on behalf of the settlement agreement, I just wanted to give you that bit of background on it.
There's a question in the chat box. Patrick, do you want to say it or do you want me to read it?
Go ahead.
Okay, it's what percentage of non-patrolling command staff that do not patrol are listed in that 150 to 160 officers that have ECIT training?
Patrick, I can get you that exact number because we're constantly doing that. We divide it up between operational and the whole, you know, staff. But I would say probably maybe 20 of the 150 or 60 are in, have graduated or been promoted into, higher positions so that they wouldn't be. But the vast majority of them are operational.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It looks like Laura has another question.
That's terrible.
Laura, do you want to go?
Yeah, I was just with his question that was really great. It reminds me of the Phoenix Police Department. I used to live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was a part of a volunteer-led crisis intervention team. So then it dawned on me, sort of like I think Commissioner Hardesty was talking about. Wasn't there a group that was going to be going out to calls that were labeled a certain way? And I want to say it was like street response. Am I right? Is that
yes,
pertinent to
yes,
this conversation? I don't want to bring up something that's not, for this group. I just was thinking, if we're talking about engagement, I was wondering if there could be, I don't know if that could be a solution, something to add, where there's more crisis intervention teams, maybe volunteers that could be added to, I don't know.
Laura, I'm going to turn the mic over to Barb because she's chomping at the bit. She loves this kind of stuff. So she is always up on the details.
So I'm going to say this first. I've learned a lot from NAMI, which is the National Alliance for Mental Illness. NAMI, they have great classes. But there's different levels to the behavioral health system, both within the police department and what they use, and a couple of things that we haven't talked about yet, because there's so many levels of it. And so what you're saying is like a really, really good part of the, good ideas to move forward. But yeah, there's a lot of education that we're going to hopefully do pretty quickly so we can catch up and then be able to, I guess, make more educated that word anyway.
Recommendations?
Yeah, thank you. That's why I'm on disability.
No.
Laura, there is a process in place right now. You're right. The Commissioner Hardesty did, along with the Street Roots group, wants to have a non-police response as well to lower level, situations, with people that, may be on the street or, having something that doesn't require a police level. And my understanding is that is still going forward and they're preparing a pilot project for it. And it will involve, those folks plus, I think the Fire Bureau is actually part of that too, their emergency response out of the Fire Bureau.
Yeah.
And Melanie, you may know a little bit because you've been in those conversations too, if you want something to add.
Sure. Yeah, it is piloted. We've identified the kinds of calls that the Portland Street Response will go on, and those are going to be low acuity calls where people might need some first aid or even some mental health assistance. It's not an emergency level, but maybe they need some assistance or get connected to resources. This is still in the planning stage, and we don't have a go live date yet, but we are looking to our partners in the Fire Bureau to establish that date, and we'll go from there.
So it sounds like it is sort of set up like their system as well, where, because I was a volunteer for about a year, and so we stayed at the fire department, and then we rode on the trucks with the fire staff and then proceeded to the calls, and it was kind of done more with the Fire Bureau.
Yeah, I think it's modeled on something in Eugene also. It's been around in Eugene for years.
Yeah, Cahoots model.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I have a question involving the work of peer support specialists and peer wellness specialists, which is my title. I'm a forensic peer wellness specialist. I work with the populations that are currently involved in the criminal justice system and have severe and persistent mental illness. And one of the hopes of like future would be to have a stronger peer relationship within all these groups. And I was wondering, what is the current plans for having peer support specialists as part of the response teams?
Maybe we're going to need to invite someone, maybe Street Roots and some of the folks who are working on that from Fire to our meeting, Amy, and get more information about that.
Okay, I was kind of addressing it to Mary Claire to see if there was anything in discussion now with everything rising up with having non-police teams going on the streets. I was wondering, is there a way to develop like peers and police officers going on rounds downtown? Is there any conversation about that in the works?
You know, Amy, that whole process is, you know, outside of the police bureau. So I think that it would be probably better to have, you know, somebody from Hardesty's office or, you know, somebody from the Street Roots or the Street Response Program talk about that, because it actually is going to be separate and apart from the bureau.
Okay.
So we don't have any, you know, say in, you know, who's going to ride with them or what have you.
Oh, okay. Because years ago, there was response teams that were developing with peers that were riding along as well to try to negotiate less harmful interactions. And I just think it's time we get a little bit more movement so we can do more work that we've been trained to do. And so thank you. I will, we're going to have more conversations around the peer movement as we go forward, because that's near and dear to my heart. Does anybody else have any questions or comments or things you would like us to know as we start winding down our meeting tonight? Yes, Anne.
I just wanted to invite everyone to another one of our listening sessions that will be this Sunday at 5 o'clock. It will be another Zoom listening session, and the information will be in our social media and in our calendar. Is that correct, Judith or Theo?
Claudia is going to post it tomorrow, and it will get sent out to our mailing list, our major mailing list. And so if you are not on the mailing list, you can just go to the website and click the contact us, and Claudia will put you on the mailing list. But it will be also posted on our calendar. I think, Claudia, you were saying tomorrow, you thought?
Yeah, I'm going to get that out tomorrow. I just wanted to get final confirmation today, since we've been having, you know, some scheduled meetings appear in the last few days, but we will definitely get that out tomorrow on social media. And then I am going to give everyone that email to send us a request to get onto the mailing distribution list. That way I don't miss anyone tomorrow, because I am planning to send that email out for the listening session on Sunday, no later than 10 a.m. tomorrow. So I will get that to you guys now.
Great, and I thank you, everyone. And I also wanted to say that we are compiling the information that we have heard from our last session. We had over 350 people, I believe, on that session, and we are moving forward with some themes that we've heard. And so we hope that you'll attend that meeting.
And if you have any comments or questions or thoughts, we do take it on the community policing website. So please visit our website and add your thoughts or your contributions and spread the word about our upcoming meetings. We have subcommittees that are open to the public. Folks are welcome to join any of them, all of them. We have meetings that meet once a month. That's all open to the public, where we host a lot more deeper conversations. So is there anything in closing anyone would like to add before we go? Seeing that there aren't any, our minutes and the things that we've all been working on will also be found at the website. So feel free to go view it and share with your friends and then get back to us. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to say good night.
Night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night.
Say hi to the pup, Mary Claire.
Hi, thank you.